and remembering a popular entertainer on Johnny Carson, Merv Griffin. Viewers loved him and his psychic powers. When we come back here, we remember a beloved entertainer, popular on Johnny Carson to Merv Griffin. Viewers loved him and his psychic abilities. When we come back here tonight, we remember a popular entertainer from Johnny Carson and Merv Griffin. Viewers loved him. And our Made in America Christmas is back tonight. What's your one thing? To the Index, we learned today that George Kresge Jr. has died, better known to generations as the Amazing Kreskin. The mentalist, a longtime talk show favorite from Johnny Carson to Merv Griffin to Michael Douglas. He amazed audiences with his mind-blowing abilities, predicting events, guessing their personal details, famously asking crowds to hide his paycheck only for him to then find it. The Amazing Kreskin was 89.
And for decades, he mystified audiences, young and old. Remembering the Amazing Kreskin, entertainer, mentalist, and inspiration to those who follow. Plus, he dazzled audiences for decades. The life of a beloved entertainer and mentalist. Well, the man known as the Amazing Kreskin, a mentalist who dazzled audiences for decades, has died. Magda Gebrselassie shows us why he was so popular and how he inspired the next generation.
In the prime of his career, the man known as the Amazing Kreskin mystified audiences, entertained fans of all ages, and became the model for generations of future mentalists.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen, the very car you thought of. 4 diamonds.
George Kresge Jr.'s interest in appearing to read people's minds was sparked at the age of 9, followed by years spent honing his craft, using psychology and body language to read people's thoughts.
It's the unconscious, really. That's 90% of our thinking, and that's what I tap into.
More suggestible in groups.
In the 70s, he lit up TV screens with shows like The Amazing World of Kreskin. Shot in Canada, it also played in the U.S.
I still have my Kreskin board game.
Fellow mentalist and magician Daniel Paulin grew up watching Kreskin.
I can't read your mind, but I'm going to make you think that I can. And I don't think there was a better person, a better master at the ESP and the mind reading than Kreskin.
His talent was a big draw for late-night talk shows. The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson had him on nearly 90 times. He popped up on David Letterman's show, too.
Talk show hosts love guests who come to entertain. It's like a night off for them. And so Kreskin was the perfect guest because he had his act and people were amazed.
Comedians like Jim Carrey did impersonations of the mentalist.
It just would grow into total manic, insane energy. And it used to crack people up.
The social media post announcing the entertainer's death stated performing for all of you brought immense joy to his life, and it was something he deeply cherished. The Amazing Kreskin was 89 years old.
Goodbye, everybody.
Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Still ahead, remembering the Amazing Kreskin, a mesmerizing entertainer who wowed TV audiences for decades. An entertainer once called a master of mind games and famously known as the Amazing Kreskin has died.
If I read his thoughts on camera, this would be a major miracle, folks.
Originally from New Jersey, George Kresge Jr. made a number of appearances on late-night television, including right here with us on CTV. He rose to fame as a pop culture phenomenon in the 1970s, showcasing mysterious mind-reading powers. His tricks included guessing details of strangers' lives or predicting cards chosen from a deck. A close friend saying he died of complications from dementia. He was 89 years old.
An entertainer called the Master of Mind Games and famously known as the Amazing Kreskin has died.
If I read his thoughts on camera, this would be a major miracle, folks.
George Kresge Jr. made a number of appearances on late-night television and even right here on CTV. He rose to fame as a pop culture phenomenon in the 1970s, showcasing his mysterious mind-reading powers. Some of his favourite tricks included guessing details of strangers' lives or predicting cards chosen from a deck. A close friend says he died of complications of dementia. He was 89.
Okay, we got some sad news to pass your way on this Wednesday. The Amazing Kreskin, who of course got his start on Canadian television before becoming a favorite of Johnny Carson, passing away at the age of 89. His family confirming the death in a statement on social media, saying, "Performing for all of you brought immense joy to his life." And they actually used one of Kreskin's favorite phrases that he always would close his shows with. "This is not goodbye, but to be continued."
And, you know, we were talking about Kreskin earlier, and I think my recollection of Kreskin were his appearances on Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah, he was everywhere in the 70s and 80s. He was on The Tonight Show nearly 90 times with Johnny Carson.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, word is that he inspired one of Carson's most famous bits, Karnak the Magnificent, through his appearances. He was also on with Letterman, Merv Griffin, Mike Douglas, Regis and Kathy Lee, as you mentioned. Just an amazing career. One of his biggest tricks, if you will, was that he would have his paycheck for whatever event he was doing, and he would give it to an audience member, and then they would take Kreskin off stage, and they had to, the audience member, hide his paycheck somewhere in the auditorium, and if he couldn't find it, he said he didn't get paid that night.
Oh my gosh! Did they ever reveal? Did they always reveal if he found it?
Not every time. There were he had a couple freebies apparently, a couple of free shows.
He would go home, and then the family's like, "Why did you have to do that trick?
Yeah,
we could use that paycheck."
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, evacuation orders have gone out to Malibu residents as firefighters battle a wildfire there that has grown to.
And he was called the Amazing Kreskin for good reason.
Oh my God!
How George Kresge made a career out of wowing crowds. He was a master of mind games and a staple on TV in the 70s. We look back at the legacy of the Amazing Kreskin next. He may not be familiar to millennials or Gen Zers, but for anyone turning on the TV in the 70s, the Amazing Kreskin was a household name. Kreskin was a captivating performer known as a mentalist who could dazzle audiences. Kreskin died yesterday at 89 years old. Eric Sorensen looks back at his famed career.
The Amazing Kreskin.
Once upon a time, an appearance on Johnny Carson could change a career. Kreskin was on 88 times.
Come on down. And
persuading ordinary folks to experience something amazing. In this instance, to move glasses across a table without trying.
You tell me what's happening.
It's jumping around.
And you're not doing this deliberately, are you?
Was it subconscious, a parlor trick? Hard to know, and that's what kept audiences and talk show hosts guessing. On David Letterman.
What's the first few words on the page?
You want it from me?
Yeah.
You want to tell you?
What do you think? I'm a mind reader? Let me know what they are.
Not a mind reader, Kreskin called himself a mentalist, fascinated by the power of the mind. He created his own game, Kreskin's ESP, in the 1960s. He had a knack for anticipating what people were thinking. He once asked a Global News reporter to pick a coin.
This one right here.
And you did not see what I wrote?
Sure enough, he seemed to know ahead of time.
Knew what it was.
Isn't it interesting?
Incredible.
The TV bookings just kept coming, leaving one generation to the next, astonished or at least happy to play along. He didn't claim to tell the future, but said he could pick up on body language and through the power of suggestion, influence people's thinking.
I can only work with people's concentration, with the present. I've never wanted to try to influence people's lives. I don't foretell the future. I perceive thoughts. I influence people's thoughts.
During live shows around the world, he would often have his paycheck hidden somewhere by the audience and said once in a while he couldn't find it and wasn't paid. But he says he never used electronic devices or secret listeners to tip him off in his act.
To the day I die, Red, $1 million. Let all the skeptics come out of the rafters who can prove that I do those things.
As for the first words on Letterman's page in that book?
Compounds, comma.
That's what I got.
Oh my God.
Maybe the most amazing thing about Kreskin is that a career exposed to so many skeptics lasted 60 years.